In situations where you currently have a complex Visualforce application, and migrating to Lightning is not as easy as one might think, you might choose to remain in Visualforce for the time being. That's fine. But I'm certain that there will almost always be new feature requests. At that point, you could continue to choose to implement them in Visualforce, or you could choose to implement them in Lightning and host those Lightning components in a Visualforce page. So the day when you are ready to move to Lightning, you have fewer features to convert. Right? And so this video is for you if you are open to the latter. Okay, hosting Lightning components within Visualforce is simpler than you think. There is no special authentication required, or a connected app, or any mega setup involved in the process. None necessary. Lightning components for Visualforce are actually based on Lightning Out, which is a flexible feature that lets you embed Lightning components into almost any web page. Okay, so our objective for this video is to create a Visualforce page and embed a Lightning component in it. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to I'm going to use the accounts component that we created in one of our earlier videos. Okay, so how do we do it exactly? I'm going to describe this process verbally first and then show it in action. Okay, so there are three steps involved in adding Lightning components to a Visualforce page. First is to add Apex include Lightning tag in your Visualforce page. And by doing so, you will be adding the Lightning components for Visualforce JavaScript library to your Visualforce page. Okay, and the second step is to create something called as a Lightning dependency app. Okay, it is simpler than it sounds. A dependency app is simply an Aura application with some attributes, and the dependent components described using the Aura dependency tag. Okay, you will never actually deploy a dependency app as an actual app for users to consume directly. In that case, why even create a dependency app, right? It is strictly for performance reasons. When a Lightning Components app is initialized using Lightning Out tries to load the definitions for all the components in the app. And to do this efficiently, Lightning Out requires you to specify the component dependencies in advance, so that the definitions can be loaded once, that is at startup time. Okay, so what goes into your Lightning dependency app? First is the access must always be set to global. Okay, and then the app must always extend LTNG out app. Okay, and then there's also something called as LTNG out app unstyled. And like the name suggests, this does not inherit Lightning styling, the SLDS. So if you extend this, then you are on your own when it comes to component styling. You have to use your own custom CSS for styling your components within. Okay, but if you use LTNG out app, the Salesforce's Lightning styling is automatically inherited for you. Okay, and then the third aspect is Aura dependency for every component that is created in your Visualforce page. Okay, one dependency for every component that you create. This will make more sense in a minute when we see it in action. Okay, and which components need to be listed as dependencies exactly? um, uh, just the top level ones that you will be specifying inside the Visualforce page. Like I said, it'll make sense shortly, but until then, um, uh, just to keep in mind that only the top level one. So if you have a component that has multiple child components in it, nested, you don't have to create dependencies for those nested components. Just the parent component is enough. Okay, because the Lightning framework resolves child component dependencies automatically. Okay, and then the third step involved in displaying Lightning components in a Visualforce page would be to use JavaScript and Lightning use method to create the actual component. Okay. Um, can you throw in multiple such components onto your Visualforce page? Sure. You can call the Lightning use method multiple times on a page, but just make sure that all calls reference the same Lightning out dependency app. And also make sure that you have an aura dependency described for every component that you create at this level. Okay. Now let's see this in action. Let me go ahead and create um, a Visualforce page. Okay, I'm gonna call it Lightning component in Visualforce page tester. Okay, like that. Oh, oops. Let me go back. Visualforce page. Um, Lightning component in Visualforce test. That should work. Ah, there. Okay. And remember the um, steps. First is to um, include Apex, include Lightning tag in your markup. Okay, let me save this. And then the second step was to create a Lightning dependency app, right? So for that, let me go to File, Open, and create a Lightning application. Okay, and I'm gonna call this Lightning out dependency app. Dependency app. Okay, and then notice that there's this checkbox which says Lightning out dependency app. I'm gonna check that. Okay, and submit, and it automatically extends LTNG out app for us, but the missing aspect is access specifier, which has to be global. Okay, and like I pointed out at the start of this video, I'm going to embed an a component that we have already created in one of our earlier videos called accounts. So I'm going to create one Aura dependency, and I'm going to say the resource is going to be C colon accounts. Like I mentioned, anything before the colon is for the namespace. If you have a namespace in your org, you have to use that specific namespace. In this particular org, it's a developer edition. I do not have a namespace set up, so by default, it has to be C. Okay, so the namespace colon the name of your component that you're trying to embed in your Visualforce page. Okay, that is my end of my Lightning dependency app. Okay, Lightning out dependency app. All right, so let me go back to the Visualforce page, and now, I was pointing out in the PowerPoint that the next step is to include a DOM element, div ID, let's call it Lightning. It's a DOM element. It's just a container for where Lightning out could dump that Lightning component that you're trying to show on the page. This is the container that is used to display that component. Okay, and then there is script. Um, and in the script, you should know that the method is called lightning.use. Okay, and then um, the first parameter is the name of the dependency app, which is C colon the namespace lightning out dependency app again, um, lightning out dependency app like that, and then um, function, we have to create a component dynamically at this point. So dollar lightning dot create component, um, C colon accounts. Okay, that is the name of my component that I'm trying to display. And then create component accepts, the next parameter that it accepts is a set of parameters that this component accepts. And in our case, the accounts does not accept any input parameters at all. It just displays all accounts that exist in the system. So I'm going to pass in an empty JSON object. Okay, that's an empty JSON object. And then the third parameter is the DOM element, the container, the ID of the container, which in our case is Lightning. Okay, it is the ID that we provide there. Okay, and the final parameter that create component takes is a callback function. So it's going to be function, oops, function, and it's gonna take in the component and the newly created component, and it lets you let me make sure I have the closing braces correct. So this function is a callback function that executes after your component has been created on the page. Okay, it's a callback. So you could do something here. Okay, and then let me close that, and that's for that. This is for that, and then there has to be that and that. That's it. I believe so. Yep. And that's it. Save it, and let's test it. Preview. There. Um, that's our Apex page called Lightning Component in Visualforce test. And notice that this is our accounts Lightning component, where we have the ability to toggle between a card layout and a table layout that we created in one of our previous videos. Okay, so the Lightning component embedded within a Visualforce page. Okay.